Hi and welcome. Today we will look at a new room on TryHackMe called Vulnversity. So, as you might already guessed from the screen just below, I did complete the room before I recorded the video. I am aware that I can reset the room and just do it all again, but just for the matter of this room, I'm just gonna go through it all, telling how I did it and showcase the more difficult parts, and then talk about different solutions and the perspective that I took. Alright, so the deployment of the machine, obviously it's already deployed, so I completed that part of the room, and the reconnaissance part can be pretty easily done by just following the commands given to you in the text on the room by nmap sv scanning for versions and the IP address, and that will basically give you that there are 6 open ports, and you will see the version. And this is another question asking you how many ports will be scanned if you do a P400. Well, the answer is 400, so it's kind of given right there. And if you look up for the flag called -n on nmap, you will pretty quickly find that it's not DNS related, so you will not resolve DNS. Alright, so next question would be, what is the most likely operating system this machine is running? Now, most of the cases on TryHackMe, it's Ubuntu machines, but there are also Windows machines and other types of operating systems. The way to find out of this is you can do a nmap operating -o, big O, capital O scan, or you can just do that with the SV, and it's pretty common that you will get the answer in some way whenever you scan the machine. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna and of course web servers running on port 3333. So let's go to a window here and clear it and say nmap -sv sv and just run it. Whoa, okay, I see. No. So let's just copy the port once again. Right click. Did I right click it and save it? There we go. And then paste it and just run the scan. This will take a bit, of course, and while that's done, let's go to the locating directories with using GoBuster. This is a pretty easy one to do. It kind of gives you all the answers. Basically read the text, funny image, and then go download it. If you haven't downloaded it, it actually gives you the command called sudo apt-get install GoBuster. And then it also tells you that, okay, so user share word list, that's the directory where you can find your word list for GoBuster and DearBuster and so on. And then you just run that command saying GoBuster, I want to scan for directories, and the URL is this one, port 3333, because that's where the web server is located, and then -w because the word list, and then pick the simple word list. I'm going to show that in a minute. And then basically in a few moments the folder called internal will pop up on the screen, basically just telling you to try and access that from the browser, and you will see that it's an upload form page, as the text actually implies. Going back to the actual scan, you will see that first of all the word Ubuntu pops up various places. Also Linux, and yeah, you see Ubuntu here again on the Apache, and you see the version and the squid version, all the answers, and the 6 ports open. Now in some cases other ports than the typical thousands, which is scanned for when you just do nmap without any port range, could be part of the question. So if the question were, let's say, how many ports open on the box, it could be 5, it could be 17, depending on the number. It could be a weird odd number like 40,133. That would not be within the normal range of just running nmap like that. Then you would have to do a comprehensive scan, which is, well, scanning all 65,535 different ports, which will take a lot of time. So the internal part here is running GoBuster just like this, and basically it's let's just use the same window. Say GoBuster and -u. Let's see if I have it still. I don't have it still. So let's just copy it's there. 10, 10, 60, 88, 333, and then just do W, then user. I said user. Share, word list, double tap. I use the busters, and then go and pick the one called directory list 2.3 small, which is more than enough. Let's see, UL schema do not what did I do wrong? Let me just see pretty quickly. Yeah, I forgot some typical me, HTTP. There we go. Okay, so pretty fast whenever the program is running, you will see that it finds some folders called images, CSS, JS, and the status code is quite good. And fonts, yeah. Internal, there we have it. Let's just quit the scan. And the internal will be your upload folder, which can be accessed just by copying this and say /internal, and I need to access the correct port, of course, and then you can upload a file. So the next task in TryHackMe would be to actually compromise the web server. By following this guide here, you will, well, kind of try and guess what is the common extension that seems to be blocked. When I did this the first time, I tried like PNG file and text and PHP, and all got blocked, and I figured, okay, maybe this is not the right way to do it. So I scrolled down a bit, and what I saw is that they kind of gave me the answer that I needed to try for different kind of PHP versions, like PHP 3, 5, and 4, and PHTML. Okay, so I now kind of told me to use Burp Suite, and using Burp Suite I can do something called an intruder attack, sorry, a sniper attack, and then fill out the payloads and basically just try different, if you look here at the file names, shell, different extensions, and see whatever got through. And by just trying that in Burp, it's PHTML. You could also just go and say, okay, so let's just say inside this folder, let's just touch a file called test.phtml, because this is just right here, and I just read the guide on TryHackMe telling me to try these kind of 5 extensions. So why not just go to the internal web page and browse and say, let's try the test file, and submit it, and you will see the word success. So you don't really need to do any Burp testing if you just want to go the manual way, because sometimes booting up Burp and setting up the scenario for just trying 5 different extension types can be a bit extensive, but it is good for your practice if you wish to learn Burp a bit more. Alright, so the next thing you're being tasked to do is download reverse shell, and if you go to that link, you will go to GitHub, and it's Pentest Monkey's GitHub, and basically if you go to the raw part here and scroll down a bit, you will see this pretty fast. You need to change these two variables, the IP address and the port number, which is going to be the reverse lookup for the shell here. That's going to be your local machine IP and your listening port on your own machine. So whenever you download that and change those two to whatever IP you have, and again, I don't know your IP address and which port you want to use is up to you, then you need to upload the file, the reverse shell, through internal, and it kind of tells you to run a following command called Netcat here. Say nc, and then listening for any connections on the port you typed in your reverse shell. Now I usually use the port number 4444 because it is commonly not used on any operating systems, so it kinda is safe to use in my mind. Then it kind of tells you to upload it and then navigate to this URL and the internal /uploads and then whatever file name. I renamed mine to shell.phml because you know, it's just what I usually do. And then you access this as it tells you, and while doing that you will see this kind of image. You got a connection and see something like this with some different IP addresses, but it should look pretty similar. Alright, so just by saying let's fire off the Netcat, so Netcat 4. I did something wrong. Let's see, LVNP. Yeah. Okay, so oh, mamma mia. Sorry again. There we go. Alright, so now I'm listening on port 4444. And if we go to a new shell here, zoom a bit, go to the folder Vulnversity, I have a file called shell.phml which I downloaded. And in that I scrolled down and I altered the IP address to my local IP address through the OpenVPN and the port that I use, which is also the same port as I'm listening and waiting for incoming connection. Reverse shell basically means that the machine that I'm trying to hack is connecting to me. Reverse, that is why it's called reverse. So basically what I'm going to do is go to the browser, pick the file, pick the shell, open, upload, go to uploads, like that, and then pick the shell.phml file, and you will see that the browser's hanging because a connection opened. So go back to your terminal window and you will see something like this, which is exactly what TryHackMe told us to see. Okay, so just without using a lot more time on the window right now, we should read further and say what is the name of the user who managed the web server. So the way to just pretty easy to find out that is go in here and say let's /home cd/home ls, and you will see that there is a name called bill here, which is probably just a folder. So let's say cd bill and ls again, and you will see a file called user.txt, which we will be needing in a few moments. So the user is bill and the flag is inside of that. So it is basically just, let's close this for so it's just catting out the user.txt, and then we have the flag, and that will be the one we need to use to end this part of the room. The next part is what is considered a bit more advanced. So first of all, if you're not familiar with the term called SUID, or the owner user ID upon execution, then it's a pretty good idea for you right now to stop this room and just go to Google. Let's just say any Google and say Linux SUID, and then basically just read the first one, or just what is SUID in Linux, and just say okay, get a pretty good understanding of it. However, you need to click some links and read a bit, and I suggest you spend 10-15 minutes just reading about it, so you know what it's all about. Alright, so it kind of also tells you here that if the SUID is set, it kind of implies that a binary file that can change your password has the SUID bit set. Let's say user bin password file, which is used to reset and create passwords. When we run that, it will run as the group of the user, and that is pretty bad, because then we can use it for privilege escalations in many cases. So it should have, in this case, root privileges if it has the SUID set. Alright, so I just want to add to the SUID part that it is not necessarily bad that you have files with SUID set. As you can read here, sometimes you need to actually do that in order to change your password. Alright, so what we need to do now is to run a command on the Linux system looking for files that has this SUID set. Now, this hint button on my screen doesn't work. So what I'm gonna do is open this on another browser and take a screenshot of it and pull in my Paint window so you can see what the hint says. Just a moment. Alright, so on my other screen I just paused the video and I'm pulling in Paint right now. And whenever you push the button, you will see the question hint like this, telling you to run a command called find / from the / of, well, the operating system, a user, root with the permissions with the set UID 4000, should be executable, and basically show us the files. So let's run the command. I know it's gonna, well, I'm just gonna type it so I cannot copy paste from. Let's see, we can type without any not perk 4000 and then exec ls ldb and like this. And I want to add that there are many different ways you can do this, and depending on which way you find on the internet, the command will look somewhat similar to the one that I just showed you again right here. All be something like find / udo perm per 1000, but after that it's a little different what people put in the end, depending on how you want to use the command search, I guess. But so basically the output here gives you a lot of stuff, and how should you interpret all this? What I suggest is you go to the start and you go to the start and you look all of these permission denied things. I would typically just skip that, because when we are hacking something, it's not denied, is not a good word. So let's just go down a bit more. I'm gonna use this. Let's see, there's a long list. So yes. Oh, there we go. So when we come to about this part here, you will see a new block appearing, which is not something that tells you that things are denied. I would usually pay a bit attention to this part. Just, yeah, it looks okay. Now, the binary we're using for is not in this list, so of course by just reading a bit here and looking up on the a web page I'm going to show you in a bit, so it all makes sense. I'm not going to continue on this road. So basically what I'm going to do is just scroll down a bit more and see, oh yeah, so there's another block which I've denied. And then we see the file called systemctl, which is actually the binary file that we're looking for. So how do we know that? Okay, so going back to the room, it kind of tells us to find a file, and if you know TryHackMe, it kind of gives you the hints that it should be / / and then 3, 6, 9 stars. So it's a file with 9 letters, and of course we can sit and count all of them and then exclude and maybe have a few left. Alright, so what we need to do is to use a certain web page, and this is something that you either need to know or you can need to search for. Since I know it, I'm just gonna pretty fast go to a page called GTF bins, and this is just a web page that is created for you guys that is going to well hack, you know, to look up binary files that can be used for privilege escalation. So basically it kind of just tells you to enter in the binary and say, well, okay, system, and this is the binary here, you click it, and it kind of gives you different ways for you to privilege escalate on the box you have an access to. And the first one is by using the SUID, and it gives you this text here. And the other one is a pseudo one, and since this is not a pseudo example, we need to use the SUID version here and pay attention to the room. It also talks about SUID, so that would be the correct way. If you did not have this link, you would probably need to do something like SUID exploit. I would assume, you know, it's been a while, and then read, and then it will pop up. But how would you know this would be the web page? But I would probably just pick the first one if I were you in the first part and just read about it from a hacker's perspective. It seems like this is more a hacker's perspective, and I would probably just, you know, scroll down a bit just to get an overall impression of the site, and see if any interesting stuff pops up. And it seems like this is a bit advanced, so I would probably just go and say, what about the next one? Linux privilege escalation, and see what that would say. And of course, now it's a slow page. So, and this talks about the concept of SUID a bit more, which is of course good. So I would probably read this because it seems a bit more nerdy. And by the way, this is another version of how to find all the SUID files, and instead of showing all the denied ones, it kind of just put it out to a dev null, so it's being hidden in the output. And voila, second link, it kind of shows you how SUID helps in privilege escalation. And blah blah blah, visit for more here. So that is actually giving us the page we're looking for. And if we didn't know, again, I would suggest to read the few lines of text and try out your skills. Okay, so the next one would be to put in this file here, and now we would need to give the flag of the root. It gives us the path of the flag. It's root. So going back to the GTFO bins, we can see that, I'm gonna zoom a bit here, that it kind of says that we need to create a environment variable and echo to this part. So it's gonna be, this is a whole line, will give us a one shot, what's called execution start, so we can execute some commands, and this is two other lines. So basically what we need to do here is to take this first line here, copy it, go back to the shell and paste it in, press enter. Okay, and I would say this line here, you could copy that, go to a text editor, and well, just paste it in. And then, is this a command you want to run? What you want to do is to see what's inside of the root/root.txt file, which is also what is written right here. So what I could do in theory is to go back and say, instead of running this command here, I could do something like cat this and write it to temp flag, for example. So if I spelled everything correctly, it says running a command from the shell, of course with the privileges of root, hopefully, and output this. So we're not getting root, but we're just outputting it. So it is possible to get root using this command. So let's just copy this for now and see if I got everything right. And of course, Copy pasting is difficult sometimes. Yeah, it's a typical copy paste thing. Let me just see if one liner will help me. Whoops. Did I press the? I pressed the insert button. So let's just put everything up in one line and see if this helps me, because sometimes copy pasting is a fine art, and it seems like this time it went bad. So this is why copy pasting is not the best. So what I'm gonna try and do is to get out of this. So I have to press Control C and just run the listener again. Go back to my browser and let's see, is this the one? And rerun it, the shell, and we have a shell back, which is good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna use my notes and copy this one here and say this is the thing, and basically what I'm gonna do now is copy paste this in here that I just had on a text file on the other screen. It's gonna be this text. So basically it was the same as this. You know, copy pasting sometimes it's nice, but you know, you have to type this maybe. So it's about the last ending, and it is just kind of destroyed it sometimes. So you kind of have to type it, I guess, then. And then you need to, well, just do this manually. Take this link here and say, so is this the right path for? It is not the right path. It needs to say bin in front of it. So if I were to do this a bit more, you know, let me just show you. I should write like this: bin /systemctl link, and then do tf, and now it's very small. I'm sorry for that. There we go. No, it didn't help at all. I'm just, this window is really big. Just a second. Yeah, there we go. And now I'll create a symlink, and then I could do like dash again, bin, go to the, well, the path of where the file located, say enable now, and tf. And what it kind of tells me there, that it says something like created and this and that. So I'm gonna go to the temp file, and just because I'm curious, I'm gonna ls and see. I got a lot of different things here. What I like to look for, I'm gonna make this large again, is what I wrote here is I need to output something to the temp.flag. I just noticed that it's called output in my code on the other screen. So basically it's a file called output I'm gonna look for, which is right there. So I'm gonna output that, get output, and then I get this. This is the actual flag for the room, which is down here, A58 and so on, so on. A58 and so on, so on. So you are saying I am not root, and this is true. I am still not root, but I executed a command as root. So what you're basically gonna do right now, if you wanna become root, is to go back to this page here. I'm gonna show this, so I'm gonna copy paste everything in. This is the start of it. So obviously what you need to do is to create this environment variable, and you still need to run the two commands. Well, copy pasting is still hard to see. The two commands in the bottom, just saying like this and like that. So this is the 4 steps you need to do, and then you need to, instead of, well, doing this here, you need to say I need to run another command, and that could be running the chmod command and putting on the, let's just write it first of all, the bin and the bash. There we go. So if you run this command here, you will be able to, in the end, after all of this, to write bash p and get a root shell. So we have the same issue again. We need to copy paste and let me see, is it possible to do without destroying the, I think it's the end of the line that's going to be the problem when copy pasting like this. Just pretty quickly trying to showcase, let's see if I do copy that and put this in there. Okay, so that's the way to go. Copy paste this in from the GTO of bins, put it in the text file, and edit directly. Don't make it a one line anything, and then do the 2 individual commands in the bottom that I have here. Well, let's see. Maybe I need to get a new shell because I already did this exploit once. So yeah, pretty fast gonna say quit or exit. Gonna listen up a new shell again and just redo the shell. And what I'm gonna do is basically just redo the steps. So I'm gonna put in the first environment variable, and then I'm gonna copy paste this part here that I wrote before, which is the new exploit we're doing right now. So it's a second one, and then I'm gonna execute the different individual commands. Yes, and the last one here. And if everything went well, I should be able to do, let's just do who am I now. So I'm VV data, so I'm saying bash p, and who am I again? Let's see, no, doesn't work. Bash p, and then do who am I, and now we see that now I'm root. So now I can basically go into my root folder and just, well, whatever, cat out the root text. That is another way for you to exploit this box if you want to go all in. So this was a bit more advanced than compared to other rooms when I'm talking about privilege escalation, but you know, advanced to a certain point, you need to read this part here, this text, and kind of try and well, discover this part here and say, what can I use this for? That's about it for this room. So we got everything worked out. So I hope you liked the video, and if you liked the video, I would very much hope that you would like to write a comment to my other videos or this video, and I will reply back to you. If you wish to subscribe, that would be a great help to me, so we can help sharing this security knowledge among other interested people. So for now, see you again later.